Chapter 9. Fasting. Where and when. Apart from our motivation and goals in fasting, the question of proper supervision and other facets of fasting already considered, there are several basic considerations that should be discussed here. Where to fast and when and how long. Although the questions appear simple on the surface, they present complex problems that cannot be answered as easily as one might imagine. For each is concerned with matters that relate to the individual, his personal physical condition, and other factors of a variable nature. The problem of when to fast, for example, involves not only the matter of climatic conditions, which may be extremely important, but also the question of how quickly it may be considered essential for the individual to begin the fast. Because fasting lowers one's resistance to cold and the faster is easily chilled, fasting is more pleasant generally in warm weather than in cold. For this reason, there are those who advocate fasting in summer. On the other hand, Dr. Oswald considered winter entirely suitable for fasting and pointed to the example of hibernating animals to support his view. Moreover, waiting for summer could involve procrastination during which the condition of the patient might deteriorate. Chronic disease tends to evolve into more serious stages with the passing of time. I believe that a fast should be entered into at any time of the year it may be needed, without reference to the climate. No impairment of health should be risked awaiting changes in climate. If one stays indoors and keeps warm, it is as easy and safe to fast in winter as in summer. Fasting is equally as beneficial at one time of the year as another, and the logical rule should be, fast when there is a need for it. It is best when uncomfortable in any way to stop eating until feeling well, without respect for the time of year. There are varying degrees of inability to appropriate food in the various states of impaired health, and in all of these, a period of abstinence will hasten recovery. One should not wait until one is suffering with serious disease before instituting remedial measures. Take care of the small illnesses at the right time and in the right way, and the more serious illnesses will not evolve. It is unfortunately true, as Dr. Charles E. Page, who lived in Melrose, Massachusetts, and was an outstanding hygienist, says, that nearly all patients continue eating regularly until food becomes actually disagreeable, even loathsome, often, and after this, every effort is exhausted to produce some toothsome compound to tempt the appetite. Furthermore, and often worst of all, after the entire failure of this program, the patient can, and usually does, take some gruel or some sort of extract which he can drink by holding his breath. All this tends to aggravate the acute symptoms and to hasten the disease in the chronic form of the rheumatic patient, or to ensure rheumatic fever, and the same principle holds in nearly all acute disorders. It is well to remember." Unquote. Fasting is a preventative program in that it initiates the cleansing process before serious developments have occurred. Fasting is used successfully in many cases of serious chronic illness in advanced stages, and this will be explained later. But certainly it is wise to, quote, nip it in the bud, unquote, all such developments rather than to wait until the trouble has become formidable before doing anything about it. A great number of those who are reading this book are already in advanced stages of disease, and they will desire to know what they can expect from a judicious fast. Much of this book will be devoted to answering such questions for them. At this point, it is only essential that I say that while fasting can save many lives, it is so much to expect it to save all lives without respect to the condition of the patient at the time of that the fast is undergone. Dr. Page also says, quote, "There is neither pleasure nor nourishment in force feeding, only pain, poisoning, and starving. The fasting cure universally and rationally applied would save thousands of lives every year," unquote. Dr. Page further urges the immediate launching of a fast wherever indicated, emphasizing that in some serious cases, quote, "plenty of good food," unquote, as the saying goes, can kill far more quickly than it can benefit. The question when to fast is answered when the need arises, as quickly as can be arranged, under advice, and with without great expectations of immediate miraculous developments, instant recovery, or overnight slenderizing to sliff-like proportions. We have been brought up in the belief that we can recover health in one swallow of a pill. That weight, which has taken years to amass, will vanish in a matter of hours. In cases of serious disease, the same lack of realism is seen. The layman is unacquainted with the state of deterioration in organs and tissues and is likely to expect, even demand, results that are impossible. A man who has taken 40 or 50 years to evolve the disease state that he presents when he undergoes a fast may expect to get well in a few days or a few weeks. The sooner we can divest our minds of this false notion, the better we will be able to comprehend the fact that getting well, which is an evolution in reverse, requires time and persistence. One fast is often not enough. The chronic sufferer, after long years, will have not only to persist in his efforts to undo the effects of a lifetime of wrong living, but he will have to exercise patience in his efforts. Yet there are also conditions in which a fast, at least of any length, is inadvisable, even impossible. In states of great emaciation, in advanced stages of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and in advanced tuberculosis, there is nothing to be gained from a fast. Fasting in cancer of the liver and in cancer of the pancreas is especially to be avoided. Where there is a great fear of the fast, it is well not to undertake it. In pregnancy, fasting should be restored only to cases of urgent necessity. In cases of morning sickness, common in the early stages of pregnancy, fasting a few days will prove of benefit. Apart from this, if there is no acute disease that makes a fast essential, the woman should avoid fasting while pregnant. By this, I do not, of course, mean that she cannot miss an occasional meal or even fast for a day or so if she finds it helpful. As fasting causes the milk of the nursing mother to diminish, and it is not increased when feeding is resumed, the mother should avoid fasting unless her advisor considers it an urgent necessity. It is important for the expectant mother to maintain a high-level health during pregnancy and the nursing period. A student of hygienics once made the following half-joking comment, quote, "The trouble with fasting is there's no place to do it in," unquote. The environment of the faster is too often filled with difficulties and obstacles. Home should be an ideal place, but usually it isn't. This is partly because of the widespread ignorance about fasting. Also, the home too often is located amid the noise and fumes of the city, where the water is drugged until it is almost unfit to drink. With a little effort, it is possible for the man in the city to obtain pure water, but pure air is not possible. Perhaps the greatest obstacle to fasting at home is the almost inevitable opposition of the faster's family and relatives, not to mention his neighbors and friends. They will not let him alone. They plead with him and badger him to eat. They tell him he is crazy, that he will kill himself, that he is looking bad, that if he does not cause his own death, he is sure to do serious harm to himself. They may become angry, even hysterical, in their efforts. They quarrel with him and annoy him so much that fasting is all but impossible. They call in a physician to persuade him to break the fast. They may even call in the police or threaten commitment to a mental institution. Tasty tidbits are prepared for the purpose of tempting him. They can turn the fast into a grotesque nightmare. I have had to take patients out of their homes and send them elsewhere to complete the fast. On the other hand, where there is family cooperation, a fast in the home is carried out with ease, peace, and success. It should be carried on amid quiet, peaceful surroundings where the air is pure, the water fresh and uncontaminated, and the people congenial, as it should also properly be advised by one experienced in conducting fasts. The best place for fasting is an institution in which fasting is regularly carried out. A hygienic institution located in the country and headed by an experienced supervisor forms an ideal combination for a fast. Fasting is not merely retaining from eating for a required period. It involves rest, sun baths, bathing, quiet, peace, and the care of the patient through the period of recuperation after the fast is broken. All of this requires knowledge and experience. For most people, fasting is an unusual experience. This is particularly so if it is a first fast. The faster is likely to experience unfounded anxiety, uncertainty, mental perturbation, even fear. In addition, he experiences new feelings and sensations that may disturb him. For those reasons alone, the best place to fast is an institution, under the guidance of a man of wide experience in fasting. How long should one fast? What is the time schedule? There are several different views about this, and much discussion has been engaged in over these ideas. Ideally, the answer is basically that the fast should continue until the return of hunger. Practically, however, this is not always possible, and it is rarely wise in any event to set an arbitrary limit for the duration of a fast. No man is wise enough to predetermine the amount of fasting that will be required in a given state of the organism, nor can one tell in advance how much fasting will be safe in a particular case. The experienced man does not launch a fast with the idea that the patient is going to break any fasting records. Fasting is not a stunt, nor a contest. The supervisor starts the patient on the fast with an objective in view: to reduce weight, to lower blood pressure, to relieve the body of accumulated waste, to rest a tired nervous system, to bring about rejuvenation of the individual, or whatever may be the specific goal. He carefully watches the faster and day-by-day developments and breaks the fast when his object has been attained or before any danger to the faster has developed. No living thing can go indefinitely without food, but fasting is always safe within the limits of the organism's power of self-help. As this limit is well demarcated, there is little likelihood that the experienced practitioner will mistake it and carry the fast beyond the point of safety. If the fast is continued, nature herself will always indicate when the fast should be broken. Arbitrary limits are justified only if the patient has limited time in which to fast and be ready to return to work, or in those cases where a long fast is inadvisable. Other than these instances, the only satisfactory plan of conducting a fast is to be guided by the day-by-day developments in the physical state of the faster. By this rule, a fast may last a few days, a few weeks, or a few months. The longest I have ever personally conducted was one for 90 days. 2 other patients passed 70 days, and many have gone beyond 60 days. Such long fasts are not the rule, nor can every faster safely continue so long. Each fast must be conducted according to the needs and the abilities of the individual. The practitioner who arbitrarily sets a predetermined limit to the fast does not do justice to the faster. To set a limit of 3 days or a week, or of 21 days, as some do, is to break the fast in the great majority of instances far in advance of the time it should be broken. Nor should the faster start out with the idea that he is going to try to set a record or reach a certain goal in terms of number of days. The only logical rule is the following: let developments determine the length of the fast. In some cases, a series of short fasts is preferable to one long fast. In general, one lengthy fast produces better results than a series of short ones. It is not always possible for a patient to take a series of short fasts. The time required is often too great and the expense prohibitive. And such a program, unless rigidly supervised, is capable of producing harm, such as never results from a properly conducted long fast. There is the fact also that a program of altering feeding and fasting tends to become more difficult for the individual to carry out. Often the periods of abstinence are just long enough for the faster to become adjusted to the fasting process, then they are broken. Each time the patient fasts, he is forced to go through the same experience, never experiencing the comfortable stages of the fast. He tends to rebel against another fast. He hesitates, drawbacks, and dreads the whole routine. In spite of the difficulties attending a series of short fasts, there are cases in which this is all that can be done, and then the plan should be undertaken with determination, but under supervision. to the end that the greatest good may be accomplished by it. These questions of where, when, and for how long are seen to be variables that must be handled and decided upon with common sense. The approach must be flexible, humane, understanding, wise. We are dealing with human beings and not machines.